'Twas a long time ago, longer now than it seems, in a place that perhaps you've seen in your dreams. For the story that you are about to be told took place in the holiday worlds of old. Now, you've probably wondered where holidays come from. If you haven't, I'd say it's time you begun. It was Halloween night. I could hear the opening lyrics to that Burton classic as soon as I stepped on Rylan Aldrich's front porch. I had just been dropped off by my parents at the front gate of his community and was sure I was underdressed as a ninja. A nearby mummy decoration popped up from its candy display and cackled, giving me a healthy jump scare when I rang the doorbell. It was going to be a good night. He opened the door with a comb of his hair and half of it streaked with white dye, fake fangs in his mouth, and a bit of goop dripping from his lips. "Dex, you're early!" "I was just getting ready," he said, waving me in. The decorations were a bit more toned down inside. Little jack-o'-lantern lights strung up in odd places, few skull candles. The TV was blaring some old classic monster movie, and he reached for the remote before tossing it to me. "Make yourself comfortable. I gotta get this stupid dye to cooperate." "Thanks. I hope it's not too early. We were supposed to go pick up Jessie, but our plans got cancelled," I told him as he went back to his small hallway bathroom. "Oh, that sucks. She won't make it, huh?" he shouted as I switched his TV over to Hulu. I looked at pictures of his family nearby, thinking it had been too long since I had seen them. "Yeah, had to take her little..." I paused as I realized my choice of words and pretended to forget what I was saying. "So, who else is supposed to show up?" I asked him as I opened the door and screamed, and this time actually jumped when a prop skeleton fell out. I heard his laughter from the other room when I screamed, and he stuck his head out of the hallway to see my face. "That's what you deserve," he told me with another belly laugh. "Shit, man," I muttered, reaching around the prop to grab one of his dad's beers. "Are there any other traps I need to be aware of? Am I going to get a mouse trap on my hand if I reach in the cookie jar?" Considering the bad blood that had been between us, I wasn't going to put anything past him. The doorbell rang just as I cracked open the Coors Light, and Rylan responded. "Now where's the fun in that? Hey, can you grab the door?" I sipped the cold beer as I opened it, trying my best to remain cool, when I saw his girlfriend, Daisy Simmons, standing there looking sexy as hell in a devil costume, holding a few snacks. "Daisy, hey, Rylan's in the back." "Well, are you going to let me in?" she said irritably. I nodded and put my beer down to help her with the food as I pushed the door ajar. "Rylan, you gave me the wrong damn key code for your neighborhood," she whined, tugging him out of the bathroom. "Jesus, babe, I didn't know they would change the gate code tonight," he apologized, as he pushed his fake fangs into his mouth, and then the two briefly kissed. It wasn't a short peck, but it wasn't too long to make me uncomfortable. "That's fine. Once I got it open, I wrote that damn thing on the device for anyone else," she said. Rylan gave her a look of disbelief. Babe, that's only supposed to be for residents," he told her. She shrugged and grabbed the beer I had set down to take a sip. "It'll be fine. Hey, Dex, can you help Val get the stuff out of my trunk?" I nodded, put the bag of chips down on his counter to go help her sister. Rylan's gated community was starting to get a trickle of cars in, thanks to Daisy's unintentional assistance. Even as I walked towards her Equinox, a sports car was squeezing in the cul-de-sac for parking. It looked overly familiar. "Hey, I'm trying to get my trunk open," I heard Val say as the new car bumped a little too close for comfort and dropped off her witch hat. She used her sister's keys to click open the hatch and gave me an awkward smile. "Sorry you had to see that, Dex. Guess this costume kind of fits me, huh?" I chuckled as I helped her grab stuff from the trunk. "Maybe if people learn manners, you wouldn't need to worry about the costume," I commented loud enough for the driver of the other vehicle to hear. I was also trying to get a good look at the driver, but couldn't see for sure who it was. Must be my imagination, I thought. I picked up the food that was the heaviest and told her to stack as much as she could in my arms, my eyes lingering on something in the bottom of her items. "Ouija board? Really?" I said skeptically, as Val put the board game on top of my stack, specifically requested by our host. "Took me forever to find the thing. Haven't played with one of these in years," she said. I followed her back inside the house, where I just saw that a few other people had somehow made it inside while we were unloading. The TV was now up cranked to 11 with some pop music, and Rylan helped me start distributing things on his counter. I thought she said this was only going to be a few people, I told him, not even recognizing the newcomers. He gave me a look, and then eyed Daisy, who was already chatting it up with one of the girls. Apparently a private party meaning post the address on Facebook, he commented. The doorbell rang again, and Val opened it to let in about 6 more people, all of which were about as loud and obnoxious as the others. You're the one who said your parents wouldn't be home till Friday, Daisy commented with a laugh. Come on, Rylan, lighten up. None of us are going to trash the place. The minute I heard the voice, I tried not to panic. I knew I'd recognize that fancy car. Nick? You invited Nick? It's like you said before, Dex. That's a good time for all, Rylan said with a laugh as he waved to the football jock. You guys do whatever you want. Real party will be upstairs anyway, he said. What's that mean? Nick asked as he glanced over at the Ouija board and shook the box. You guys gonna wet your pants while we're chatting with ghosts? He laughed. We're gonna try a 19-minute seance, Rylan said without even breaking his gaze. I found myself suddenly a bit uneasy as a few others in the room paused what they were doing when he said it. It couldn't have been the real story, I thought. Nick gave them all funny looks and then stared back at Rylan. And what's that, huh? Some kind of TikTok thing? Rylan finished stocking up the fridge and then grabbed the Ouija board from the jock. It's for big boys and girls. You wouldn't understand, he responded as he passed it to Val. Nick laughed as the doorbell rang and I saw a couple more familiar faces coming in the door. The party slowly going back to normal as everyone tried to ignore what Rylan had claimed. As Nick got distracted, I pulled Rylan aside to his dad's office and closed the door. Hey, you weren't serious about that, were you? My friend gave me an impish grin. What do you think? We were staring at each other for a little bit too long. I finally did my best to give a nervous chuckle. I'm not stupid, Dex. I know my brother ain't coming back. Besides, everyone knows you have to bring 3 boards to do it anyway. He shrugged me off. It was just to get Nick to shut up, and to discourage him from coming upstairs while we have some real fun, he said, as he reached into his pocket and pulled out a bag of weed. My eyes widened in surprise. Where did you get that? Todd? He's going to bring some more too, once he can sneak out and make it here, Rylan told me. I couldn't help but nervously laugh again. I didn't want to admit that I wasn't one of the cool kids and had never tried the devil's lettuce. Nor did I like the fact that his dead brother was now a topic of conversation. Take this upstairs to Daisy. I'll keep these lunkheads down here distracted for a little bit, he told me, passing the bag to my open hand. When we stepped back to the living room, I couldn't help but feel a little anxious because of how many people were here. I wish that my partner, Jessie, had been able to come, I thought as I shot her a text while I walked upstairs. Daisy was in Rylan's room, grunting as she pushed his bed out of the way to give us all a chance to sit on the bare floor. He needs a table and chairs up here. My ass is going to be chafed, I commented as she told me to help. I shoved the weed in my pocket as we pushed the bed the rest of the way, and then collapsed onto the floor. It was then I noticed there was another, older Ouija board under his bed already. Why would he have 2? Was he lying earlier? What's with you? Looks like you've seen a ghost, Daisy commented. I decided to see if maybe she was in on the scheme. Do you know about the 19-minute seance? I asked. She gave me a snobbish look. Oh, please. Rylan talked about that all week. Obsessed. Don't tell me you're a conspiracy nerd, too. She laughed. I think he wants us to attempt it. Here, see? There's another one of those Ouija boards. All we need is 3, and we can perform the ritual. I mean, do you know what it does? I said, my hand shaking as I took it out from under his bed. You're serious? You really think if we try some Creepypasta challenge, we're going to get haunted by demons? I'd rather not take my chances. Especially not on Halloween, I told her. Daisy laughed and ignored me. This sounds like we'll have fun scaring you shitless. I decided to storm back downstairs and confront Rylan. If he wasn't going to be straight with me, I was leaving. My phone pinged as I got halfway down the stairs and stopped to read a text from Jessie. Before I could put the phone back in my pocket, Todd drunkenly stumbled past me with something in his hands, and I dropped it all the way to the floor below. I watched in horror as my phone smashed up on Rylan's tile floor. What the hell? Watch where you're going, I said to Todd as I focused on what he had brought. A third Ouija board. confirming that Rylan wasn't just blowing smoke to Nick either. My heart sank as Todd shimmied past me. "Relax, bro. Sure your rich daddy can buy you another phone?" I ignored his snide comment. I rushed to the floor below and picked up my broken phone, trying to see if it would work. I needed someone to come pick me up and take me away from here fast, before something terrible happened. All I saw was a glitchy and cracked screen. Shit. The heck happened? Rylan asked as he squeezed past two partying girls in the hallway. "I should ask you that. What the hell are you planning upstairs? The truth this time," I shouted. "Dex, what are you talking about? The truth? Really?" he asked. But I didn't have time for games. I grabbed my stuff and said, "I don't want a part of this. I'm heading home." Rylan tried to grab my wrist. "You don't get to walk away from me," he shouted. But I shoved him back, hard enough to knock over a few snacks. Nick and a few others saw the commotion and started to trickle into the vestibule of the kitchen. "What do we got here, lover spat?" he joked. Rylan stood up and looked at the mess and then to me. He had anger in his eyes. "What the hell?" "Nick, I was just kidding about earlier. Could you help Dex upstairs? I want you in on our little project," he told the jock. I did my best not to snap. Nick seemed a bit confused, thankfully. I mean, like, force him to go? "Yeah, musclehead, use those abs for something useful. Dex here wants to leave and tattle on our fun," Rylan lied. I saw something different in my friend. I recognized it was malice, and I realized what was really happening. Nick snorted and cracked his knuckles. His body's blocking my exit. "Well, we can't have that now, can we?" He moved to grab my arm and shoved me up the stairs, and I reached for a wine bottle, smashing it on the jock's head. As the glass shattered over his thick skull, I turned to run to the bathroom. I knew there was a window I could crawl out of. A few guests shrieked as I ran past and slammed the bathroom door shut, locking it, and then sliding the shower door open to reach the window. It was just about 2 feet above my head. I heard Rylan shouting for help from the other football players to get the door open as I anxiously stood up on the edge of the bathtub to reach the window. Angling it to give myself enough room to slide out, I started to grab at the exterior awning and pull my body up. The door rocked and shimmied, ready to fly off the hinges behind me. I was grunting and getting halfway up and into the crawl space when they managed to shove the door open and pile into the bathroom. My upper body was out. I was ready to get away. Then Nick grabbed my ankle and snagged me back into the bathroom. I don't think I've ever kicked someone so hard in my life, but this time it didn't make a difference. His buddies were on either side of my arms, grabbing me and keeping me from flailing as I saw Rylan stand in the doorway looking like some kind of mad, overpowered leader. "Let me go!" I screamed. I was hoping someone out in the hallway would see this insanity and stop it. But everyone was looking to our host for instructions, and his orders were clear. "Upstairs. Tie him there in a chair and put them in my room. Tape that mouth of his too. I'm tired of the shit he's spewing." The jocks held firmly to my legs and arms, carrying me from the bathroom out of the hallway to the stairs. I looked frantically from side to side toward the other guests, hoping anyone would see how crazy this looked. I tried to shout that the players were going to kill me, anything I could do to get free, but Rylan cranked the music up, and my pleas fell on deaf ears. As we reached the upper floor, I saw Daisy in the doorway looking a bit perplexed by what was happening. "You gotta snitch. Grab the chair," Nick ordered. Val and Todd were there too, setting up the Ouija boards. Guys, don't do this, don't. This is a bad idea, please," I said, as Nick and his friends shoved me into the chair. "Are we supposed to tie them down?" one of them asked. "Tie him down? What's going on?" Todd asked. I focused on him. "They're trying to do the ritual. Todd, you saw that shit we read on the dark web. We can't do this. Rylan can't." Val was the one who looked the most concerned. "I thought this was supposed to be like harmless fun," she commented. "It is. Dex is being dramatic as usual," Rylan said as he entered the room. He was carrying a roll of duct tape. "Probably wants to slip off with our stash to Jesse's place, huh?" he said as he reached into my pocket and took out the weed. Nick suddenly laughed hysterically. "Is that what this is about? Little goody two-shoes doesn't want to get high?" "Pretty much," Rylan said. "No, look, guys, I don't care what you're doing here. I won't tell a soul, but I don't want to be a part of it," I told them. Rylan gave Nick zip ties for my hands and feet. "Expect us to believe that?" Todd asked. "My phone's broken. I got dropped off. I'd have to walk out of here," I told them as they made sure the restraints were good and tight. I saw Val standing in the corner looking more and more worried. Maybe what I was saying was getting through to her. "Or go alert the neighbors who might call the cops," Nick scoffed. Somewhere downstairs, we heard a loud noise. Now who's the one with a nervous laugh now? Pretty sure that's gonna happen anyway, thanks to Daisy's invite. I mean, this is a private neighborhood. Your house is party central, right? They're already on their way. This was enough of a threat to make the rest of the group nervous. Everyone looked to Rylan. Nick, go downstairs. We're crowd control. We'll get things ready in here, he said. The jock didn't have to be told twice. Once he was gone, Rylan locked the door. He had a dark look on his face, and suddenly, it was crystal clear what this was about. I had doubted before, but now I knew. Holy shit. This really is about Sawyer, I said, my mouth going dry. Val stood up from the corner, her eyes widening. Sawyer? Is that true? Rylan didn't say a thing as he pulled the duct tape out and focused on me. How about you take a little time out while the grown-ups do some talking, he said, placing the silver sticky material over my lips. Once it was on good, Rylan focused on Val, who seemed to be the only one in the room not in the know. Yeah. We're going to try to bring back Sawyer. That a problem with you? He snapped. Val looked at her sister, then paced the room. Yeah, that's a big problem. I thought we were just gonna, smoke some weed and then do a stupid-ass seance to see a few hallucinations. Not really, dark magic shit, she mumbled. I mean, we can do that too. Nobody knows if this shit's gonna work anyway, Daisy said with a laugh. The way she laughed, she seemed a little shocked that her boyfriend was so serious about it. It has to. We have everything we need, Rylan said. There was a knock at the door, and Todd opened it to let Nick back in. Everything's kosher downstairs, bro. Ready to get this party started? He asked. I tried my best to get his attention, but my words were only muffled. Man, you really do pull crazy parties. So what's the plan here? Nick said, sitting on the bed beside Val. Rylan locked the door back and gave Todd and Daisy orders. Let's get Dex in the center of the sigil, huh? Nick, you'll be over here on this side, okay? He tapped on a different rolling chair and placed it on the backside of mine. Sweet. We can cuddle, he teased as he rubbed his sweaty face against mine. I wished I could tell him what he was getting involved with, but it was too late. Once Nick sat down opposite of me, Todd and Daisy put their Ouija boards on either side of us, and Rylan told Val to go to the top to form a triangle. I could tell she was hesitant. So what happens if we succeed? She asked. It should be obvious. Sawyer, Rylan told us. Okay, who the fuck's Sawyer? When are we gonna smoke a blunt, bro? Nick said irritably. Todd was the one to handle that, getting some of the weed out and preparing the jock a roll of his stuff. Enjoy, he said. Nick took a few puffs of smoke and then immediately began to relax. Yeah, that's the good shit. Rylan was still staring at Val, waiting for her to comply. I don't know about this, Val said, looking to her sister for confirmation. Look, do you want him back or what? Daisy snapped. I mean, well, sure, of course, yeah, but he's dead. Gone. You don't come back from that, Val muttered. You do if we succeed, Rylan told her. The room was dead silent except for Nick's occasional sharp cough, and finally Val relented, placing her Ouija board at the top of the triangle. Rylan made sure the door was locked. You ready to start? He asked. Todd and Daisy gave a nod and took out their smartphones to set a timer. Val did the same. Bro, what is this anyway? Nick asked. Rylan turned off the lights, and the small candles that he had in the room were the only lights remaining. Shut up, Rylan said, as each of the players put their hands on the planchette at the center of the Ouija board. When I give the word, the time will begin, he added, as he stood near the door and focused on me. He said the code word, and the phrase, "We invite the spirit of Sawyer Aldrich." Immediately, the timers on the phone started. Rylan didn't blink as he asked the first question. What is the name we need? I closed my eyes as a tear streaked down my face. The trio surrounding Nick and I spelt out the name. D-E-X-T-E-R. Are you the culprit? Their planchettes rested on. Yes. I was trying my best to resist. The air felt thick as I realized the inevitable was happening. It was reading my mind. What did you do? AcidEnt. Ryland's face scrunched up as his girlfriend gave him a dirty look. You gotta be more specific, she told him. He has to use the script, Todd corrected her. Ryland repeated the question. I did my best to avoid what he was trying to get me to do. Mistake. This isn't working, Daisy grumbled, and took out a small pocket knife from her back pocket. My eyes widened, and before I could stop her, she stabbed me right in the side. Jesus Christ, Val said, covering her mouth. Answer the fucking question correctly, she shouted to me, as she twisted the knife in. The tape kept me from screaming, and Nick was so zoned out from smoking he didn't even notice. Ryland repeated the question. I looked at Daisy, knowing what she would do if I lied again. K-I-L-L. This time, they were satisfied. I looked down at the phone. 13 minutes left. Could I stall and prevent them from finishing? Who did you kill? I tried my best not to think about it. But the spirits were already guiding their hands. S-A-W-Y-E-R. Val was still covering her mouth, this time looking in disbelief towards me. That can't be true. I averted my gaze, and Todd told her to focus. Ryland asked the next question, this time focusing on Nick. Who's the empty vessel? N-I-C-K. Nick seemed to actually pay attention as the letter spelled his name. Shit, this has got some good weed. Almost looks like they really did say my name. Ryland ignored his ramblings, focusing on the next question. Is he the victim? The planchette moved, resting on no. Shall we drain the vessel? It moved to yes. Nick snorted. Drain the... What? What the fuck? Are you all smoking too? We will raise our hands now and offer our force to the spirits, Ryland responded. All three participants with the boards did as they were instructed and let go of their planchettes. The timer was down to 9.5 minutes. I was struggling my best, trying to get Nick to do something. Ryland's voice was the only thing that filled the void. Who is the victim? S-A-W-Y-E-R. Is he ready to return? The planchette moved of its own accord to the word yes. We give our energies to the transfer. Nick was about to open his mouth, confused by what was going on, when I heard his voice become nothing but a whisper. Then it sounded like he was choking. At the same time, I found my own throat collapsing, the room filling with some sort of strange fog, the kind you might see when you barely keep the windows open. Except I knew what this was. I could feel it. My life force being drained. Nick stood up, grasping at the chair and turning to me. His eyes were turning black as he lost his air. Todd shoved him back down, and Daisy told him to be careful. Ryland looked at the clock. We were almost down to 5 minutes. Come, he announced to the void. Then Nick's body went limp. At the same time, I felt something strike me right in the chest. It felt like I was having a heart attack. The trio around the sigil they had created watched and waited to see what would happen. The timer was rapidly running down. Then, behind us, we heard something downstairs. Shit. Ryland, we gotta hurry, Daisy responded. I think the power went out, Val realized as she heard people complaining below our feet. There was a sudden low hum in the room. I felt the air on the back of my neck stand up as the room became colder. Daisy stood up. He's here. Sawyer, he's really here. Ryland was doing his best not to get excited, but we were down to 3 minutes. All together, he whispered as he reached for his girlfriend's hand, and then Todd. Val was the last to form a circle around me and Nick. They chanted the next words together. The sacred sacrifice we prepared for you. A body strong and young and new, your precious blood taken away. Now we let you see another day. Take what was stolen. Return to us, Sawyer. We invite you to this life. Behind Rylan, there was a knock on the door. One of the guests was trying to get his attention. The trio didn't say a word, too focused on their ritual. Down to 2 minutes. I took a chance and screamed under my duct tape. Someone on the other side heard it. Then opposite of me, I could feel Nick beginning to move again. He stood up, almost robotically, and I could hear a sharp breath intake from his lungs. Todd, Daisy, and Val all looked like they were seeing a miracle. Rylan stepped into the sigil. Sawyer, little bro, it's me. He reached for Nick's hand. Nick stopped him before he touched. Then he turned my chair around and I found myself staring at the jock and into his now completely white eyes, possessed. The timer was almost down to 30 seconds. He pulled the tape from my lips and I immediately screamed for help. Sawyer took the pocket knife from Daisy and plunged it into my neck. Don't you remember me? Don't you remember what you told me, Dexter? No one's going to care about you. At the same time, the door opened, and the guests that heard my scream stepped into the already crowded room. I can't remember what happened next. The timer said just below 10 seconds. The candles went out. The lights flickered on. Someone saw the knife in my neck and started rushing for the possessed Nick. No, you'll break the spell! Rylan shouted. Too late. As soon as they struck Nick, his body convulsed and he shrieked. The crowd was flung backwards. Suddenly the lights flickered and hummed louder, and the timer alarms went off. Nick kept convulsing, his bones breaking, his body bending into impossible shapes. He was hardly even aware of the actions, though, an unseen and powerful force rocking the entire house as Rylan frantically tried to keep everything together. Sawyer, stay with me, he shouted as he grabbed his brother. The possessed body was still, and I held my breath. Then the screams of 1,000 souls ruptured the air, and a cascade of vile black smog burst from Nick's mouth. I closed my eyes and prayed. My heart kept racing. My body felt like it was going to explode as the screams grew louder and the house felt like it was being bombed. I thought about Jessie. How much I loved her. I wanted to be with her. I promised myself if I lived through this, I'd tell her everything that happened that night. Around me, I heard my friends begin to shriek too and watched as they held their hands over their ears. I thought about Daisy. As I looked at her, all she had ever cared about was making her boyfriend happy. She didn't even know the whole story. She was just here for him. Her eyes bled out. I thought about Val, sweet and innocent. She's probably in the same boat as her sister, trying to make things right when everything had gone so horribly wrong. Her face burned off. I thought about Todd. I didn't even know him that well, but I knew he was just a loyal drone to Rylan. His chest exploded. I thought about Nick. Dumb bully Nick. The real problem here. The one maybe he deserved to be punished. The one I had to cover for. He was still as a stone. I thought about Rylan. Obsession, rage, revenge. We had driven him this far and I had ignored it all. I thought everything was forgiven. We were going to heal together. His body disintegrated. And then I thought about Sawyer. I'm sorry, I whispered, as the spirit choked my life away. And then the house was quiet. I opened my eyes and I looked around. Everyone around me was dead except for Nick. The fire from the spirits had also burned away the zip ties, allowing me to move. I shook him awake, his normal green eyes returning. I could see he was still high as fuck as he frantically saw the dead bodies. What the hell happened? We need to go, I told him. He didn't argue. We stepped past the room to the hallway. The music was still playing, but no one was partying. All the people that Daisy had invited were dead. Some had slit their throats. Others had ripped their faces off. Some had just fallen over and collapsed. Every single one of them. Dead. I kept hearing Nick cuss as we left, and he pulled out his car keys. The fancy car I'd eyed earlier coming to life from the alarm. "I'll drive," I told him. In his inebriated state, he didn't argue. I drove out of the neighborhood as fast as I could, thinking how ironic it was that I was behind the wheel of his car now, with this idiot passed out. History was poetry. Except this time I'll do the right thing. I reached over to where Nick had his cell phone in the middle console and called Jesse. "Babe, where the heck are you? I'm headed to Ryland's now for the party. Can you wait for me?" My throat closed up, and I let another tear trickle across my cheek. "Jess, there won't be a party. I'm coming to your place. We need to talk." Local police were called tonight to what was initially assumed to be a noise ordinance violation in Maxwell Gated Community. The call originated in the Aldrich residence. Residents of this peaceful cul-de-sac will recall just 1 year ago, 16-year-old Sawyer Aldrich tragically took his own life, jumping in front of a moving car after being a victim of cyberbullying and hate speech by a family friend. In a strange twist of fate, Sawyer's older brother Ryland was found dead tonight, along with over 30 Halloween party guests. Law enforcement has yet to conclude the cause of the incident, but the neighbors speculate the very same bully may be to blame. "I saw him. He drove out of the neighborhood right after the whole thing went down. He's a sophomore. He's a good kid. Anyway, I'm sure it was him. I recognize that car that drove out of. Same one that struck poor Sawyer a year ago. I'll tell you this, I'll never forget seeing that car back up and drive off. I hope he goes to jail for it this time." A vigil in honor of the Aldrich family is planned for tomorrow evening. Hey, did you like that creepypasta story that you heard today? I bet you did, because you stuck around to hear the outro. So, if you want to find more creepypasta stories like this, check out the links in the description down below that lead you over to the Creepypasta Collection, Volume 1 and Volume 2. Volume 1 and Volume 2 also have a bunch of stories from some of the best authors I've worked with in the past 15 years, which I think is pretty high praise, seeing as it's like, 4,000 stories? That's right, 4,000 stories. Subscribe, you'll see them. But yes, 2 books available, Amazon, link down below, check them out. Also, I want to give a huge thank you to everybody on this list of Patreons. Some of these amazing folks are Diana Kraus, AcidSystem, Blake Rattler, Brandon Mendoza, Brenna Crow, Caltuna, ChicagoHitman, CoryxKenshin, CrusaderChocobo, Dakota Best, Daniel Poulsen, Dante Kinkade, Enchanted Buns, Estebean, Hades' Nephew, Himbo Jerry, Our Minute Seconds Time, Ingegerd Salstrom, Jay Kearns, Jadis Pet, McMog, Mr. Marcus Blitz, Psychomel, Plant Piz, Red Shadow Cat, Remember the Sun, Salty Surprise, Samara Lynn, Seclude, Simba's Bloody Mojo, Sky Harbor, Smiley the Psychotic, Sully Man, Tully Sue, Team Leo 76, The Demented Voice in Your Head, The Chavez Brothers, The Ginger Bros, Tommy Walters, Viceroy Scorn, William Wellington, Your Bro Keegan, Zabub, and Shadow Gardens. A huge thank you to you guys, everybody who shows up in the description down below, and as always, folks, sweet dreams.